Good morning. Welcome all. Today we will discuss the topic hypothesis and its various type. We already discussed about what is research and what are the steps or process of research. While discussing the process of research, we just mentioned the hypothesis or defining hypothesis as third step of research process. So we have to know what is hypothesis in detailed manner. Hypothesis is a tentative statement formulated for empirical testing. Hypothesis is a tentative statement. That means simply we can say hypothesis is a prediction or guess about our research conclusion. Okay, it is a specific testable prediction. Empirical testing means it is a specific testable prediction. Just only a prediction, it is testable prediction. The prediction may be true or false. It may be tested through Z test, T test, etc. There is a definition for hypothesis. According to G.E.L. Landberg, a hypothesis is a tentative generalization, the validity of which remains to be tested. In its most elementary stage, the hypothesis may be any hunch, guess, imaginative, which becomes the basis for action or investigation. We already said that hypothesis is a tentative generalization or tentative statement or prediction about the conclusion. The validity of which remains to be tested. The validity, it may be true or false. The hypothesis may be true or false. It is tested through Z test, T test, chi-square test, etc. In its most elementary stage or basic stage, hypothesis may be any hunch, guess, imaginative. In the first step or starting stage, while we preparing a hypothesis, it may be just an imagination or our guess, which become a basis for action or investigation. Then, after how an hypothesis is the basis for action. A clear hypothesis or a perfect hypothesis should be state that what are the areas should be covered or what are the areas should be focused and what are the areas should be avoided. In our research work. Here I would like to say an example for the hypothesis. For preparing an hypothesis, we should know what is independent variable and dependent variable. Here is an example. Attending more lectures leads to better exam result. It is a general example, not related with the commerce. Attending more lectures leads to better exam result. Here is a statement. So, they should have one dependent variable and independent variable. Dependent variable is frequency of attending lectures. It is independent that we can change. Frequency of attending lectures we can change. Next, the dependent variable. The dependent variable is exam result. It is dependent upon the attending lectures. Okay. So we can say here the dependent variable is exam result and independent variables is frequency of attending the lectures. So with the help of these two variables, we can prepare an hypothesis. There is a significant relationship between attending more lectures and exam result. There may be relationship, there may not relationship. Okay, so we should prepare H0 and H1. There is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis that we will discuss later. Okay, here just an hypothesis is there is a significant relationship between attending more lectures and exam result. This is only our guess. Okay. An example related with the business. Labor productivity decreases as working duration increases. There may be also a relationship between labor productivity and working duration. This is also our guess. There may not any relationship between labor productivity and working duration. Okay. Then we have to discuss what are the features of hypothesis. Features. First one, it should be testable. The hypothesis should be testable with the help of z-test, t-test, etc. It should be simple, clear. We should mainly focus on this point. The hypothesis should be simple, not become complex. Next, it should be specific and relevant. It should be specific and relevant to our research, not deviate from our research. Next, it should be predictable. Next, the main area of hypothesis. The types of hypothesis. There is many types of hypothesis. First of all, descriptive hypothesis. Descriptive hypothesis is related with individual, organization, etc. That may be characteristics of individual or hypothesis, age, height of the student, like that. Okay, these are proposition which describe the characteristics of variable. The variable may be individual, organization, or any other. The characteristics of variable, that may be individual age, individual length, height, etc. If the hypothesis is prepared by using these characteristics, it may be called descriptive hypothesis. Next, symbol hypothesis. Symbol hypothesis is also known as relational hypothesis. We already said an example, that is the relationship between attending lectures and exam result. That is a symbol hypothesis. There is a relationship between two variables. Okay, these are propositions which describe the hypothesis between two variables. Next, complex hypothesis. Complex hypothesis is reflect a relationship among more than two variables. More than two variables. We already said an example, that is relationship between labor productivity and working duration. This is a simple hypothesis. How it become complex? Here is only two variables, labor productivity and working duration. If there is more than two variables, that is labor productivity, relationship between labor productivity, working duration and salary of employees. Okay, there is three variables. If we preparing with the help of these three variables, it become complex hypothesis. Next, working hypothesis. Working hypothesis is the initial stage of hypothesis. Initial stage of research. While we starting a research, we just prepare an hypothesis. It is a permanent hypothesis. It may be subject to modification when research is in progress. Next, null hypothesis. It states that there is no significant difference between variables. Okay, there is no significant relationship. If the statement start with there is no significant difference between, it is known as null hypothesis. It is denoted as H0. H0. The example for null hypothesis is there is no significant relationship between labor productivity and working duration. Okay. Next, alternative hypothesis. If the working hypothesis is proved wrong or to be rejected, another hypothesis is formulated. It is alternative. It is alternative for any hypothesis. For working hypothesis or null hypothesis is called alternative hypothesis. If any hypothesis is rejected, then the alternative hypothesis is accepted. It is known as H0. Here we can say an example of alternative example. We already said the null hypothesis is there is no significant difference between two variables. So the alternative hypothesis is there is a significant relationship, or there is a significant difference. If the null hypothesis is there is no significant difference, the alternative hypothesis is there is a significant difference between two variables. Okay, it is denoted as H1. Next, statistical hypothesis. Statistical hypothesis is the statement about statistical population. Statistical population. It is related with not the sample, just depend upon the statistical population. Okay, it is quantitative in nature, measured by coefficient of correlation. It is not tested by z-test, t-test, etc. It is just measured by coefficient of correlation only. Next, logical or common sense hypothesis. When we while we starting our study, we should have a sense or logic related with our research. It may be beyond the research result, but also there should have some logical suggestion or logical prediction about our study. That is called logical or common sense hypothesis. Based on empirical uniformity perceived through observation, simply we can say that the logical or common sense hypothesis is the prediction developed through our observation, our day-to-day, our daily life experience. Okay, this hypothesis is called logical hypothesis. These are the main types of hypothesis. We already discussed 8 type of hypothesis: descriptive hypothesis, simple hypothesis, complex hypothesis, working hypothesis, null, alternative, statistical and logical hypothesis. Okay, thank you.